Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Welcome to True Crime Garage. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Nick, and with me, as always, he'll tell you he's the king of these barrio streets. Here is the captain.
It's good to be seen and good to see you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for telling a friend.
Today we are drinking Blueberry Field Party by head brewer Forrest Swan in the Beer Slingers down at Georgia Beer Company. Blueberry Field Party is a fruited blonde ale. Georgia soil is ideal for blueberries, and blueberries are ideal for blonde ales. This is a great springtime beer. It tastes and feels like a springtime beer and will be super refreshing when the days start to heat up. ABV 5.2%, garage grade, a solid 4 out of 5 bottle caps. This one was delivered to us by some kind and generous folks that attended our Brian Schaefer event. I believe they drove all the way up from Florida. So thank you very much. And here we go, Captain. Here's some cheers and thanks to our good friends that helped us fill up the old fridge for this week. First up, a shout out to Olivia from Enumclaw, Washington.
And a big talk hands in the air goes to Ashley from Bagley, Minnesota.
And here's a cheers to Akara Boyds in Maryland. And last but certainly not least, we have Marcy Hokenstra from Sacramento, California. Everyone we just mentioned went to truecrimegarage.com and helped us out with this week's beer fund for the beer run. And for that, we thank you.
Yeah, for everything true crime, check out truecrimegarage.com. While you're there, sign up on the mailing list and check out the merch store. Treat yourself. And that's enough of the business.
All right, everybody, gather around, grab a chair, grab a beer. Let's talk some true crime.
3 shootings in a little over a week, and now investigators saying they could be connected.
Macon Regional Crime Stoppers is offering a $20,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of Daniel Bruce Franz II. He's the man accused of killing Vincent Jr. at the Tanglewood Apartments on January 13th. That was the first of 3 deadly shootings this month.
Hours later down the road, a gunman shot and killed Janak Patel, a cashier at the Chevron gas station. Warner Robins Police Chief Brett Evans says they haven't named a suspect in that shooting, but says it could be related to the Tanglewood Apartments shooting.
Then Sunday night, 23-year-old Parker Moore was killed during a robbery at Barberitos. Police cannot say for sure whether the Barberitos shooting death is related to the other 2, but Chief Evans did say they cannot rule out that Franz was involved in all 3 homicides.
As police continue to search for answers, Chief Brett Evans says the 3 shootings hit close to home for everybody in Warner Robins, including his officers.
Our families are intertwined in this community every day. We eat at the same establishments, we go to the same movie theaters, we shop at the same facilities, we eat breakfast at a lot of the same places. So it's very personal to us. Please understand that.
Warner Robins Mayor Randy Toms is also concerned about people being protected. Today, he said he would ask council to remove the ban against city employees carrying weapons in city buildings.
This is our home. And this, not only does my heart hurt for the families and the people that have been affected by this string of senseless, tragic events. But it angers me that our citizens' safety and security is threatened.
This week, we are headed out to Warner Robins, Georgia. Warner Robins is near Macon, Georgia, and is located within portions of both Houston and Peach counties. It is one of the state's larger cities with a population of about 85,000 folks. We're going back to 2018. 2018 for the people of Warner Robins, that year was going to kick off in a really bad way. We're going to see a dramatic uptick in gun violence and robberies in January of 2018. So let's start this timeline on Saturday, January 13th, 2018. At 6:12 p.m., Warner Robins Police Department were dispatched to the Tanglewood Apartments at 1005 Alberta Road. This to investigate a report of shots fired inside apartment number 90. They didn't know it at the time, but they were responding to what would ultimately be the Warner Robins' first homicide of the year. There at that apartment, they found a man shot dead inside. The victim in the Tanglewood Apartments shooting was identified as Vincent Jr., age 28, of Warner Robins. There were strong indicators at the scene that he may have known the suspect, but the suspect was unknown to police at this time and was described as a young black male, probably in his 20s, with a slim build and wearing a dark hooded shirt and blue jeans. The two were heard arguing before shots were fired. It's believed that there were eyewitnesses as well as ear witnesses in this case. The suspect fired several shots at the victim, killing him and then fleeing the scene. Vehicle information on the suspect was not known, and he may have fled on foot. Warner Robins Police Department were busy looking for the suspect, and the one who was taking the lead on this, Captain, was Detective Carter Gravitt. Police were actively looking for the suspect who murdered this 28-year-old Vincent Jr. on a Saturday evening.
Do we know much about this apartment complex?
From my understanding here, this apartment complex is situated in a well-populated area. So nearby, you're going to have a lot of businesses, a lot of strip malls and things of that nature. So whether this individual fled on foot or in a vehicle, as said at the time, was unknown, but could have been, if having fled on foot, could have been hiding anywhere nearby. And that kind of leads into the next piece of our timeline here, because less than 3 hours later, so this is at 8:56 p.m. that same night, police officers responded to a 911 call of a robbery with shots fired at the Chevron gas station. This is located at 806 Alberta Road. Notice that those are the same roads. So this is a Chevron gas station, also known as Food Mart number 3. Inside, they found a store clerk shot. Paramedics attempted to revive the victim, but they were unsuccessful. The victim's name is Janak Patel, Janak, but he went by the name of Jack Patel. So Jack was working alone that night. So less than 3 hours after the first call, Warner Robins police were responding to what would be the city's second homicide of the year, with Detective Justin Clark taking the lead on this one. Again, it's the Chevron gas station / convenience store. So it's a little bit of a larger gas station, pumps out front. You have snacks and drinks and beverages inside. The clerk in this case was shot dead, as we said, less than 3 hours after the fatal shooting at an apartment complex nearby. When we say nearby, this is 0.4 miles, these two locations.
So we have a crime scene at the apartments and we have a crime scene at this gas station. And it's possible that they're connected.
Well, absolutely, because what we have here is the Warner Robins Police Department Assistant Chief John Wagner, who said it hasn't been determined whether the two shootings are related. Quote, "It certainly is odd that they were close in proximity," he said. "We are certainly not ruling that out," end quote.
Do we have surveillance footage at the apartment complex? I think any of these large apartment complex should have at least outdoor surveillance.
In this case, it doesn't sound like that was available to police or existed, but what we do have is the suspect description from the Chevron gas station homicide.
Right.
So in this case, the suspect is described by police as a black male wearing dark clothing with his face partially covered. And they say that they know that the suspect fled toward Greenbrier Road. They used a tracking dog in attempts to locate the suspect, but this was unsuccessful. So at the Chevron, Captain, they did have surveillance cameras, working surveillance cameras.
Wow.
So, that's right. Amazing. So using those, they can confirm that the description of the suspect that they put out is very accurate. Okay. And they eventually would go on to release a still image of the suspect at the Chevron robbery and homicide where that went down. So based off of video footage, what they know, law enforcement, is that the suspect walked in, gun pointing at the lone clerk. The gunman demanded money and demanded it to be fast when handing it over. Jack Patel handed over the money, and then the gunman, who could have simply have just turned and fled, having got what he wanted, decided to do something so cold, something so evil. So with the money already in his possession and Jack Patel giving him no problems at all, totally compliant to the gunman, the masked gunman shot and killed Jack before fleeing the scene.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if this killer thought that Patel recognized him.
It's a possibility. Could have recognized his voice. What we can see of the actual suspect, he's completely covered head to toe with the exception of his eyes and the bridge of his nose. Jack Kumar Patel of Warner Robins was just 25 years old. As we said, he was working alone that night. This was supposed to be his last shift. He had already lined some things up and was moving on to greener pastures with just one shift left to cover when he was robbed, shot, and killed that night. The Chevron station on Alberta Road in Warner Robins was blocked off with crime scene tape, and that crime scene tape remained up the following morning, on Sunday morning. So on Saturday, January 13th, 2018, Captain, the city of Warner Robins, Georgia, experiences the first two homicides of the year on the same night. The previous year, the city had only 6 homicides for the entire calendar year. 5 days later, Warner Robins police announced that they are looking for a local man wanted in the slaying at the Tanglewood Apartments. Police said that Daniel Bruce Franz II has been charged with murder in the shooting death of 28-year-old Vincent D. Jr. on January 13th. Franz had also been charged with aggravated assault. Okay, quote, Franz has been seen in the Middle Georgia area and is more than likely armed and considered dangerous, the department said in a statement to the public. The 27-year-old Franz is described as a black male with a light complexion who weighs about 160 pounds is 5'7" tall. Vincent Jr., the victim from the apartments, was a City of Warner Robins employee in the Public Works Department, and police said anyone with information about Franz's whereabouts is asked to call Detective Gravett or call the Macon Regional Crime Stoppers. Okay, so taking emotions out of this and to put it in its simplest of forms, we got a lot going on here in a very short period of time. We have 2 homicides, both on that Saturday. Then a suspect in one of those homicides is identified, and police asking for the public's assistance in locating the suspect. By Thursday, again, his name is Daniel Bruce Franz II, armed and dangerous. So we have an active manhunt going on when the unimaginable happens. So on our timeline, this is Sunday, January 21st. So just 8 days after the first 2 homicides. This is just a little bit after 9:30 p.m. on that Sunday when Warner Robins police were dispatched to a Barberitos restaurant located at 3123 Watson Boulevard after shots were reportedly fired there. Police arrive on the scene and they walk into a nightmare of a situation. So this restaurant was still open at the time of the incident. They would have closed that night at 10 p.m. We have employees and customers in the Barberitos when the shots were fired. Once on the scene, they find 23-year-old Parker Killian Moore shot and unresponsive. He was found lying behind the counter near the open cash register. Also inside, we have another injured worker. He is severely injured. He's described as a 21-year-old man who was shot in the head, but somehow he was able to tell police what happened. This young man had to be rushed off to the hospital to save his life, but he tells police he was shot first by the robber while he and others were trying to get the money that the robber had demanded. So they're trying to get cash out of the register to give to the armed robber. Right. And then I will use the words that the Macon Telegraph used. Parker Killian Moore was fatally wounded by a parting shot that the bandit fired. A parting shot.
What does that mean?
Sounding a lot like the Chevron gas station situation where he demands money, gunman demands money, gets the money, and then shoots Parker Killian Moore anyway when he could have just turned and fled without shooting anyone.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is in the reports, but he probably didn't get much money, and it's pretty pathetic. It's a pathetic move by somebody that's, in my opinion, less than human to get a small amount of money and take somebody's life.
Absolutely. And we'll stick with this here, Captain, and then get into some far more in-depth and detailed information about this robbery homicide, as we have several witnesses in this case, some that we were able to speak with to get firsthand accounts of the events of that horrific night. But we'll stick with what was publicly reported here for the moment. The Macon Telegraph reported a third employee who was inside the restaurant ran to a nearby Dunkin' Donuts, telling the employees there to lock the doors and call 911. We had 4 customers reportedly that were also inside the Barberitos when Moore was shot. Video surveillance was pulled from Barberitos, from the Dunkin' Donuts, from a convenience store across the street, 2 nearby hotels, and other nearby businesses. The suspect was seen on surveillance video at 9:28 p.m. coming from alongside a hotel near the restaurant, going through some bushes, cutting through some bushes, and then running to the back door of the Barberitos. And then the video also shows him fleeing southbound just minutes later. Warner Robins police patrol officers, detectives, and crime scene investigators continue to work that crime scene well into the night and then into Monday. Crime scene investigators use special equipment to make a 3D image of the scene. Detectives and uniformed officers canvassed a parking lot and a nearby field, looking in trash containers for possible evidence. The killing of restaurant worker Parker Killian Moore was the city's third homicide of 2018, and it was January 21st. This is 3 homicides in just 8 days, and there was very nearly a 4th homicide that night. The other man that was shot came within just a centimeter or two of losing his life. Thankfully, he was able to be saved.
Well, we're going to learn a little bit about this suspect from the surveillance inside. But to me, if I'm investigating this, I want the surveillance from outside because it's more likely I'll be able to identify the vehicle.
Yeah, you were hoping to see. So the surveillance footage that they have that captures the suspect approaching the Barberitos and fleeing the Barberitos, they're unable to pull any vehicle information from that footage, or at least as far as we've been told and
Right.
what has been released to the public. What you do have, which is interesting because we don't always have this in many of the cases that we've looked at, is you do get to see him approaching the business and also fleeing the business. So it does give you some idea of, if it's just general information, it still gives you some information as to where he came from and where he may have gone. You also get to see his movements and how he chooses and approaches the business and then later flees the business. So let's get to this is a news conference regarding the 3 January 2018 homicides. It was scheduled for that Tuesday. Remember, police and crime scene techs are still at the scene of Barberitos well into Monday. So the next day, on that Tuesday, Warner Robins Police Headquarters is hosting a news conference regarding these 3 homicides. And we played a news clip of that press conference for you in today's trailer. At that press conference, we learn how the police were working these 3 cases. They announced to the public that the Barberitos restaurant worker fatally shot in an armed robbery that Sunday night may not have been the killer's first victim. Warner Robins Police Chief Brett Evans told reporters and the public that one man may be behind the 3 killings. Warner Robinson Police Department investigators were trying to determine if the shooter at Barberitos is the same man who killed a Chevron convenience store clerk on January 13th in an armed robbery, said Warner Robins Assistant Police Chief John Wagner. The features of the suspects are similar, he said. The suspect in the Chevron slaying was described as a skinny black male about 6 feet tall, wearing dark clothing and partially covering his face, according to a police release. The suspect in the Barberitos killing was described as a black male about 6 feet tall who was wearing dark clothing and a face covering. Police released photos taken from surveillance video of the 2 armed robberies. They also announced reward money for leads in these cases. So within less than 2 weeks' time, we have 3 homicides, an active manhunt for one of the murders, several formal statements from police to the press and public, a press conference held within 2 days after the 3rd murder, and reward money offered up for information and leads.
Well, this has to be scary for the community because it seems like the motive is pretty simple, money, but not large amounts of money. And so this individual is willing to kill people over little to no amount of money.
Exactly. And what you have here, Captain, is as of 21 days into 2018, you have half the number of homicides that the same city experienced in 365 days in the year prior.
As routines shift and summer plans begin, it's easy for learning to take a back seat. IXL makes it simple to stay sharp and keep skills fresh in just a few minutes a day. IXL is an award-winning online learning platform that helps kids truly understand what they're learning, whether they're building math confidence, strengthening reading and writing skills, or reviewing science concepts. IXL is used in 96 of the top 100 school districts in the U.S., and studies show kids who use IXL score higher on tests, proven in all 50 states. I love IXL. You're going to love IXL. I come from a family of teachers. They all love and recommend IXL. We use IXL to keep my nieces and nephews sharp over the summer, building confidence in challenging areas, and not just staying sharp, but getting ahead for the next year. It's easy to track their progress, and IXL is flexible for travel, camps, and summer schedules. This is why all the teachers in my family, and me, I'm not a teacher, but I'm the captain, I recommend IXL. Make an impact on your child's learning and get IXL now. And True Crime Garage listeners get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXL.com/garage. That's IXL.com/garage to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price. So help your kids stay sharp over the summer with IXL. Check out IXL.com/garage today.
Are you tired of spending hundreds on crazy high wireless bills, bogus fees, and free perks that cost you more in the long run? Then a premium wireless plan from Mint Mobile for $15 a month might be right for you. Bring your own phone and number, activate with eSIM in minutes, and start saving immediately. No long-term contracts, no hassle. I've got several of my family members to make the switch to Mint Mobile. They are enjoying the wonderful, reliable service that they get, and they're saving a bunch of money compared to their previous services. You know the ones I'm talking about, the big wireless carriers. Make the switch, save some money, go with Mint Mobile. If you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/TCG. That's mintmobile.com/TCG. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5GB plan required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. If you're trying to be more intentional about what you wear day to day, Quince can help with that. They've got pieces that feel easy, comfortable, and still put together. The fabrics feel elevated and the fits are clean. Think 100% European linen shorts and shirts from $34. They're lightweight, breathable, and comfortable. Great for spring, great for summer. Everything is priced 50 to 80% less than what you'd find at similar brands. Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're getting premium materials without the markup. I love Quince. I'm a Quince man. Check my closet. You'll know that I'm telling the truth. I have a lot of their gear for fall, for winter. I love their sunglasses. And my most recent purchase, a 100% European linen relaxed short sleeve shirt. The really good looking one with the buttons in the front and the collar. They have 5 different colors. It's lightweight, breathable, and it looks fantastic. The fit is unreal. And you can shop for more than just men at quince.com. They have things for women, babies, kids, all kinds of new gear, bestsellers. Go to quince.com, check it out. You are going to like it. Refresh your every day with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/garage for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/garage for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/garage.
Courage. I learned it from my adoptive mom. Hold my hand.
You hold my hand.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
All right, we are back. Thanks for joining us here in the garage. Tall cans in the air.
That's right. Cheers to the people in the back. Power to the people. All right, Captain. Let me read portions of this from the front page of the Macon Telegraph. So this is January 24th, 2018. I want to read from it because it clearly states the police's theory at that time and the ongoing manhunt for the one named suspect. Police Chief Brett Evans said at a news conference, Daniel Bruce Franz II is wanted on charges of murder and aggravated assault in the January 13th slaying of 28-year-old Vincent Jr. at the Tanglewood Apartments on Alberta Road. Police do not have sufficient evidence to seek warrants for Franz's arrest in connection with Sunday's fatal shooting of Barberitos restaurant worker Parker Killian Moore during an armed robbery and the January 13th slaying of Chevron convenience store clerk Jack Kumar Patel, also killed during an armed robbery. However, Franz cannot be ruled out as a suspect in all three slayings, Evans said. Additionally, the climbing reward for information leading to the whereabouts and arrest of Franz has reached up to $20,000, said Regional Crime Stoppers Warren Selby. Quote, "We're here today to reach out to the community to say, please help the Warner Robins Police Department and these men and women solve these cases and make the streets safer for our community," Macon Regional Crime Stoppers Warren Selby said at the news conference. He goes on to say, "You may not think it's a significant piece of information, but crimes are like a puzzle. Every little piece goes together to make a big picture," end quote. Daniel Bruce Franz, who is known to law enforcement, has been seen in the Middle Georgia area, and they state is likely armed and considered dangerous. Also, a separate reward of up to $10,000 was being offered in the Chevron slaying and $7,000 reward in the Barberitos killing, Selby said. The emphasis of the reward money is on locating Franz because an arrest warrant has been issued and his arrest could possibly solve the other two killings, Selby said. Photos of the shooter in the Barberitos and Chevron armed robbery homicides taken from surveillance video are strikingly similar, as are the similarities in the physical descriptions, clothing, mannerisms, and weapons, Chief Evans said. Reasons for a possible link between the Tanglewood Apartments and the Chevron slayings, other than proximity in time and location, have not been disclosed by the police, and the police chief declined to elaborate.
Well, with so many crimes, you only have to get this individual for one. Yes, you want all the crimes solved, but if you can at least bring charges and get a conviction on one of these crimes, then maybe you're able to, well, one, you get the guy off the street. Mm-hmm. And so now you're protecting the community, but maybe you can make a deal if he pleads guilty to one of the other crimes.
Yes. Permission to offer up a little foreshadowing here, Captain.
Go for it.
Thank you. I want to circle back to what was said at the press conference here. Crime Stoppers Warren Selby said, "You may not think it's a significant piece of information, but crime's like a puzzle. Every little piece goes together to make a big picture," end quote. This most certainly can be true. Emphasis on the word can. Crimes are oftentimes like a puzzle. Each piece is very important and valuable. He said, every little piece goes together to make a big picture. That is true as well, but not all of the time. Sometimes every little piece does not fit together. Remember, my friends, that every little piece, as it was called at the press conference, every little piece of evidence is a clue, but not every clue is, in fact, evidence. Okay, so nothing but bad news, right, for the city of Warner Robins. Nothing but bad news in that 10-day span once we get from the first call to the press conference. Nothing but bad news for 10 days straight. But finally, we get a little bit of good news. And we get a very dangerous individual off of the streets. So this would be just hours after that press conference with Warner Robins Police Department when accused killer Daniel Bruce Franz II was arrested. So this is late that night. Franz was located at a home on Scott Boulevard after a manhunt and a $20,000 Crime Stoppers reward offered for information leading to Franz's whereabouts and arrest. Accused killer Daniel Bruce Franz II was arrested alongside of two others. This is Michael Joseph Brent, age 20, who lives at the residence, and a Montravius Deshane Lewis, age 22. He and this other guy were charged with hindering apprehension of Franz at that home. The men told police that Franz was not inside the home several times before eventually allowing officers to enter the home. This is all according to Warner Robins police. They find Franz in the kitchen and he's taken into custody without incident. So he's arrested. He's found at this home. These two guys, they're harboring him there for whatever reason. When the police approach the home and try to get in, they're like, yeah, he's not here. Don't, look elsewhere.
Lying pieces of shit.
There you go. But they eventually let the police in. They find the guy they're looking for, Franz, in the kitchen, haul his ass in. He's arrested on murder and aggravated assault charges. This is all from that January 13th slaying of 28-year-old Vincent Jr. at the Tanglewood Apartments.
And it makes you wonder how much information they had about all these crimes and how much they were covering for this guy.
Yeah, those guys. And then what we also are going to learn here now is, all right, so we're going to get a little more detail on the suspect and the incident that led to the murder at Tanglewood Apartments. This, of course, after the arrest. And this makes total sense here because, one, this dude is wanted on other charges that are outside of the Tanglewood Apartment murder. And two, as we said earlier, when the news first breaks, we know there's ear witnesses because they're calling in shots fired at this apartment complex. But there are eyewitnesses as well that are going to fill in the blanks as to what all occurred leading up to that homicide. Of course, police are not going to release all that information when they are searching for their suspect, but we know, reviewing this case, that they had a lot of information. Why? Because just days after, they announce who they are looking for. And not just say, hey, this is who we're looking for by name. We've also already charged him with the murder.
Right.
So a little detail on the suspect and the incident is released after the arrest. Police said that Daniel Bruce Franz II was actually out. He was out free on bond at the time when these three people were shot to death in Warner Robins in January of 2018. He is charged. The statement is he is charged in one killing and could be a suspect in the other two. He was also wanted by Centerville police on an outstanding warrant. Franz was charged with murder and aggravated assault in the January 13th slaying of 28-year-old Vincent Jr. at the Tanglewood Apartments on Alberta Road. Franz, the accused, and Jr., the victim, were heard arguing before shots were fired, police said. Franz's outstanding warrant for a felony obstruction was for a felony obstruction charge for throwing a fist and hitting a Centerville police sergeant in the face as the officer tried to arrest him back in August of 2017.
In the face.
Yeah, so he's arrested, hits the police officer. He's charged with that, but then he gets out on bond.
Piece
and while
of shit.
he's out on bond, 3 people were killed. And then he gets picked up for the murder of this Vincent Jr. So Warner Robins Police Chief Brett Evans said police do not have enough evidence to seek warrants for Franz's arrest in connection with the other 2 slayings that took place in January, but emphasized that Franz could not be ruled out as a suspect either.
And like you said, he has an extensive criminal history.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we need to fast forward just a little bit here to the following year, 2019, when Daniel Bruce Franz II of Warner Robins he's going to court now for that murder charge, for the murder of Vincent Jr. Now, to be clear, at this time, he's suspected of having killed Jack Patel at the Chevron and Parker Killian Moore at Barberitos, but has not been officially charged
Right.
in those 2 cases as of his court date for this murder trial. At trial, and it doesn't sound like this trial lasted too long here. At trial, he was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison after he was found guilty by a jury. He was also found to be guilty of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. They also released details of what occurred at the apartment. It says Franz shot and killed Vincent Jr., age 28, who was a Warner Robins Public Works employee, inside Junior's apartment. Okay, so this all goes down. We said earlier, apartment 90. This was Junior's apartment at the Tanglewood Apartments. The argument, according to testimony, was over a bag of marijuana. And according to the Houston County District Attorney's Office, the 2 had actually been friends. With friends like this, who needs enemies, right? The 2 had actually been friends for many years. But on that evening, witnesses testified that the men were arguing in the living room and that Junior had followed Franz into the kitchen and robbed him of a bag of marijuana at gunpoint.
Jesus.
Okay, so the bad guy, the guy that's ultimately charged with murder, is in the kitchen, and the victim comes in with a gun and says, give me that bag, or takes the bag off of him. Afterward, the victim, Junior, he goes into the living room where there are other people present inside this apartment, and he brags to those people that he just stole, or robbed the other guy of the marijuana.
Yeah, so an evil, dumb son of a bitch.
Then Franz comes from the back of the house and he shoots Junior once in the left lower chest and then twice in the middle of the back, which ultimately causes the death of Vincent Jr. Franz then fled, and as we now know, was picked up days later after a manhunt looking for this man.
Surprisingly, he didn't try to punch police in the face again.
Yes,
in the
arrested
face.
without incident.
But you said that he was charged in the one case, and he's going to get 25 years?
Yes, he gets 25 years in prison. It's a voluntary manslaughter conviction. And what is going to happen here is, from everything I've reviewed and from what the police were telling the public, and the DA as well. While they were pursuing this murder charge and they had a court date for this trial, they were actively putting together a case against him for the other two murders. So we're going to go and charge him with this murder. They get the conviction, and now they're still building a case against him in the Chevron murder case and the Barberitos murder case.
Three people were killed in less than 10 days. One at the Tanglewood Apartments, one at a Chevron gas station, one at Barberitos restaurant. Two of those crimes officially remain unsolved. Zach Merchant is live in Warner Robins with the latest on where those cases stand.
Frank, the Barberito is here behind me just off of Watson Boulevard. It's seen a steady stream of customers all day today, but back in the night of January 21st, that was not the case. This entire area was blocked off by police after 23-year-old Barberitos employee Parker Killian Moore was shot dead in the restaurant, and he wasn't even supposed to be there. He was filling in for someone else's shift. Now, over 6 months later, his mom, Leah Moss, is still searching for answers.
Not a minute I don't think about it. I mean, I wake up thinking about him. I go to sleep thinking about him. I think about him all day long.
6 months after 23-year-old Parker Killian Moore was gunned down while at work in the Warner Robins Barberitos, his mom, Leah Moss, says she wants answers and so far hasn't gotten many.
The feeling that they had somebody that they were charging that did this to my child would, you know, I don't know what that's going to feel like because I haven't had that yet, but it's discouraging and heartbreaking that they don't.
Police have not charged anyone for Moore's murder, but Captain Chris Rooks with the Warner Robins Police Department's Investigations Unit says police think they know who did it, Daniel Franz. He was arrested and charged with murder for the fatal Tanglewood Apartments shooting in January. Hours after that homicide, someone gunned down a Chevron employee only a few miles away. And Rooks says he's certain the Chevron shooter also pulled the trigger in Barberitos. Captain Rooks now says Franz is the primary suspect in those two unsolved killings.
It is important to know that we feel like the person that's responsible for these crimes, he is in jail, but of course we have to work the case and develop the evidence to be able to charge him. That is still full force.
Moss says she doesn't think anything will erase her grief, but an arrest would help bring some measure of closure. And if Franz ends up being charged, she says she wants him to pay.
If he did do all three, and I want the death penalty. That's what I would like to see. An eye for an eye.
All right, Captain Rooks would not say exactly what's holding up the case for fear of compromising the investigation, but he says the department is still working hard and asking the public for tips. Captain Rooks also says more than $14,000 in reward money has been paid out for tips related to the case, and there's still more money available. If you have information, you can call Macon Regional Crime Stoppers. That number is 1-877-68-CRIME.
Join us back here in the garage for part 2, and until then,
be good, be kind, and don't litter.
Courage. I learned it from my adoptive mom. Hold my hand.
You hold my hand. Learn about adopting a teen from foster care at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.